Part 13. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jinkui. Chapter 121. Gu Yunjiao asked while taking her pulse, "Do you have a fever?" Although Qian Chaotu didn't trust Gu Yunjiao, he still replied, "A few days ago, my body was cold and hot, but after taking this old man's medicine, the fever is gone." After taking the pulse, Gu Yunjiao said again, "Put your tongue out for me to see." Qian Chaotu stuck out his tongue, which was red with white coating. Gu Yunjiao stood up again, "Can you turn around, I'll take a look at the sores on your back." Qinzao's head and neck were so painful that he couldn't turn, and he turned around. Gu Yunjiao saw that the sore was only slightly smaller than an egg. The surrounding area was red and swollen, and the swelling spread far and wide, even the back of his ear was red and swollen. "Reach out and press hard." Gu Yunjiao pondered for a moment, first gave Atai a handful of copper coins, and then whispered a few words to him. Atai ran out quickly. Then Gu Yunjiao began to prescribe. Dr. Lu and shopkeeper Wang stood by and watched. Although Dr. Lu is called Gu Yunjiao's genius doctor, in fact he doesn't really believe in Gu Yunjiao's medical skills, but he wants to leave the trouble of Qian Chaotu to Gu Yunjiao. Gu Yunjiao prepared the recipe and handed it to shopkeeper Wang. Shopkeeper Wang took it over and looked at it, and only prescribed 3 medicines. "Can 3 medicines be good?" He glanced at Gu Yunjiao and went to the counter to pick up medicine with the prescription in his heart. Gu Yunjiao said to Qian Chaotu, "Your sore, which is called aphthous by the people, is caused by the accumulation of poisonous heat and the blockage of qi and blood. I'll mix some cream for you later, and apply it at least twice a day." Qian Chaotu turned around stiffly and stared at Gu Yunjiao. "I don't want to listen to your nonsense, you just tell me, how long will it take to heal after using your medicine?" Seeing him staring at him, Gu Yunjiao looked ready to beat her at any time, so she could only say, 3 days. It should be noted that a real doctor will not tell a patient that there is a cure for all diseases, or that such a thing is covered. The constitution of each patient is different, and the condition will change from time to time. Doctors, like fortune tellers, like to speak ambiguous and lively things. But Gu Yunjiao obviously couldn't do it if she didn't say anything at the moment. Qian Chaotu was overjoyed, and then said suspiciously, "It really only takes 3 days." Gu Yunjiao glanced at the shopkeeper Wang who was taking the medicine. "Well, as long as you finish taking the medicine and apply the ointment on time, if it doesn't go well in 3 days, just come and smash the shop." Shopkeeper Wang, who was personally picking up the medicine at the counter, twitched at the corner of his mouth and gave Gu Yunjiao a resentful look. 3 days is what Gu Yunjiao said a lot. She estimates that she will be better in 2 days. However, she has always been careful not to talk too much. Besides, this is shopkeeper Wang's shop and not hers, he. Qian Chaotu's suspicion of Gu Yunjiao was not completely eliminated, but both Dr. Lu and shopkeeper Wang said she was a genius doctor, so he could only try it. The main thing is that there are not many good doctors in the small county. Dr. Lu is now the most skilled doctor in the county. Gu Yunjiao can't be seen, and no one else can be found. Shopkeeper Wang got the medicine here, and Atai also came in with a lotus leaf bag. Gu Yunjiao took the things from Atai's hand. "Treasurer Wang, where is the milk bowl? Bring a clean milk bowl, I will make ointment." Shopkeeper Wang hurriedly called the man, "Get a clean milk bowl." Dr. Liu's eyes couldn't help glancing towards Gu Yunjiao. He was very curious about the ointment that Gu Yunjiao was about to dispense. He looked at the recipe that Gu Yunjiao had just opened, and it was filled with herbs to clear away heat and relieve carbuncle. It's just that he didn't think it could be so compatible. Right now, he was even more curious about the ointment Gu Yunjiao was going to use. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jinkui. Chapter 122. Gu Yunjiao opened Atai's lotus leaf bag, and Dr. Lu saw Gu Yunjiao put a handful of green onions in the milk bowl? Dr. Lu blinked, confirming that he was not mistaken. Then she saw Gu Yunjiao holding a small bamboo tube and pouring it into the milk bowl. The poured liquid is golden and translucent, with a sweet fragrance, not honey or anything. Dr. Lu continued to watch, but Gu Yunjiao didn't take out anything again, and just ground it in the mortar. Dr. Lu wanted to question her, but just now he said that Gu Yunjiao was a genius doctor. To question her at this time was to slap him in the face. He sneered secretly in his heart, "It really is a little girl, is this playing a house? Hee, I don't know if I thought it was cooking, it was onion and honey." He stroked the beard on his chin. In 2 days, should he take a leave of absence, otherwise, he might suffer too if Qian Keitu smashes the shop. After a while, Qian Keitu also came over to the counter with a stiff neck. At this time, the green onions in the mortar had been ground to pieces, and he thought it was some kind of herb. His nose twitched a few times. How could it feel a little sweet, and the smell was a little rushed? Gu Yunjiao grinned at it for a while. Atai understood her movements, took the small porcelain hammer in Gu Yunjiao's hand, and began to grind it hard. After the ointment was ground, Gu Yunjiao motioned for Qian Koutu to come over, first disinfect him with the disinfectant she prepared, and then paste some of the ointment on it. Shopkeeper Wang provided bandages, and Gu Yunjiao wrapped Qian Zayatu's neck tightly. For the rest of the ointment, shopkeeper Wang quickly put it in a small bowl with a lid, packed it, and handed it to Qian Koutu together with the medicinal materials. Qian Zayatu took the medicine and said stiffly, "I took the medicine, and I'll come back in 3 days. If the doctor is cured, I will give the medicine and the fee. If the doctor is not good, hey, I promise to smash your shop into a pulp dash." After he finished speaking, he walked away. Shopkeeper Wang accompanied Xiaomu to send Qian Koutu out, then turned to ask Gu Yunjiao, "Girl, you only have 3 medicines, do you care too much?" Dr. Lu prescribed 5 medicines before, but it didn't help. Gu Yunjiao smiled, "Uncle Wang just put his heart in his stomach, I know what to do." Originally, it only needed to be used externally. Qian Koutu was too fierce, so Gu Yunjiao prescribed 3 medicines just to be on the safe side. Shopkeeper Wang thought about it for a while, took out 2 coins in pain, and sighed, "I asked you for it. He doesn't pay for the consultation, I'll pay, you can take it." Gu Yunjiao waved her hand, "No need. In a few days, if Qian Zayatu gave me the medical fee, you can take it for me, and you can give it to me when I come back." At this time, Dr. Lu couldn't help but ask, "I said the girl of the Gu family, you just used the onion and honey? Isn't this nonsense?" Gu Yunjiao smiled at him, "Dr. Lu really knows how to tell jokes, why is it nonsense? It's called onion honey paste, and it's very effective in treating boils. This recipe is from the Golden Mirror of Medicine, not made by me." Dr. Liu's eyes widened. It was the first time he had heard of the book The Golden Mirror of Medicine. After all, the ancestors of the Gu family were imperial physicians. This inheritance was unusual. He laughed dryly, "Is that so? He, the old man is ignorant." Only then did Gu Yunjiao remember that The Golden Mirror of Medicine was a medical book she had read in her previous life, but there was no such thing in this world. However, looking at Dr. Liu's envious and jealous look, it is estimated that he has not read a few medical books. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jin Kui. Chapter 123. In this day and age, the doctor's secret recipes and so on are seen as treasures, and even the son will not tell them until he is about to die. There were not many medical books available in the Chu dynasty, and many doctors relied on the inheritance of their ancestors. Gu Yunjiao has been practicing medicine for generations in her family for 2 lifetimes, and she has read a lot of medical books. Atai had already packed the medicine box, and Gu Yunjiao was about to come out. The shopkeeper Wang said again, "Wait, I will let Ata drive you back." Gu Yunjiao didn't refuse. When Ata brought the car over, she and Atai got into the car. Gu Yunjiao said to Atao, "I have to go shopping. Can you take me to the street corner grocery store?" Ata agreed and drove the car over. Gu Yunjiao got out of the car and bought a knife, a chopping board, and a few steamers. These were not used for cooking, but for medicine. I also bought some black beans from the grain store next door, which are also used for medicine. The things were put on the cart, and the carriage continued to move forward. After sending Gu Yunjiao to the door, Ata helped Atai and Gu Yunjiao to move the things in and put them away. Gu Yunjiao took a box of cakes that she had bought on the street and stuffed it with duh, and then she came in. Yang Shi sat in the yard and looked at her, with a yin and yang smile. "Yo, we have an amazing character in our family." The shopkeeper of the Wang family pharmacy personally asked to come over for treatment. "How much medical fee did you get?" Gu Yunjiao directly ignored Yang's and brought Atai into the house. Atai walked to Gu Yunjiao's side, and suddenly asked in a low voice, "Miss, can a sore like Qian Chao's head be treated with pig feces?" Gu Yunjiao nodded and smiled. "It's also possible. That one is called pig zero in medical books." Atai said inexplicably, "Why didn't the young lady give him pig zero? The effect is really good." Gu Yunjiao pondered for a while. "At first, his sore has just started, and it hasn't reached that level yet. Secondly, his cause is different from yours. Also, this treatment also depends on the person. Like you have been tortured by bad sores for many years, let alone pig zero. Even if you are given poison, you are afraid to eat it. But he is different. He is also a person of status, and he has a bad temper. That pig zero stench cured his disease. He might think that I am, so he is afraid that he will hate me in his heart, and look for opportunities to get revenge on me. I'm here to heal people, not to make enmity with people. I often say that money is the law for money, and money is the law without money. As a doctor, you should also take into account the patient's economic situation when taking medication. For example, the poor should try to use cheap medicine for him. We also need to consider the psychological factors of the patients. Some people suffer from heart disease. It is even necessary to consider the relationship between the patient's status and the disease. In this way, one is good for the patient, and the other is not to cause trouble for oneself. Atai nodded vigorously, although he could not understand these words, but this did not prevent him from admiring Gu Yunjiao even more. After saying these few words, Gu Yunjiao didn't say any more. She just said, "There should be some xiaowu in the back mountain. Tomorrow, let's go up the mountain and dig some xiaowu. I will tell you how to control it." She pointed to the steamer and black beans. "These are all used to make xiaowu." Early the next morning, Gu Yunjiao told Chen Shi, and set off with a hoe and a hatchet. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jin Kui. Chapter 124. In the past, Gu Yunjiao didn't dare to go up the mountain because she was guarding Zhang Erlang. Now that she has Atai as her helper, besides, she is no longer the unprepared Gu Yunjiao before, she already has a way to deal with Zhang Erlang, and she is no longer afraid. It was mid-October and the weather was a little cold. Gu Yunjiao was wearing a thin padded jacket, and Atai was also wearing an old padded jacket from Rokuro. Although it is a little shorter, it can only be worn as it is, and the family's padded jacket Chen has not finished yet. Before going up the mountain, Gu Yunjiao asked the craftsman Zhou Mian in the village to ask for a thin strip, broke it into several pieces, and threw it in the back basket. The two quickly climbed the mountain from the wasteland behind the village. Along the way, Gu Yunjiao taught Atai to identify herbs. It's just late autumn, and there are not many herbs. She pointed to a grass on the ground and said, "This is Houtunia cordata, which has the effect of clearing fire and eliminating poison." Atai said in surprise, "Isn't this pig grass? When my mother was still there, she would feed this grass to pigs." Gu Yunjiao nodded, "Well, someone fed this to the pigs." After walking for a while, Gu Yunjiao pointed at the vines crawling on the ground and said, "This is He Xiao Wu. Basically, as long as it is found in the mountains, its roots are used as medicine. Let's dig it out and take it back to make medicine." Gu Yunjiao looked at it and pointed to a place for Atai to dig. After digging for a while, Atai dug out the dark brown tubers. Gu Yunjiao nodded, "That's it, dig more." Seeing that Atai was digging seriously, she walked to the side, squatted down and started to roll over the rocks on the mountain. As soon as the stone is opened, there are often all kinds of insects crawling out from the bottom. Gu Yunjiao's eyes were quick. She grabbed a centipede at once, took out the thin strips she had obtained and broke it into a length similar to that of a centipede, then turned the centipede over, and pushed the strips under the head and tail of the centipede, and the centipede was stretched straight. When the centipede is dry, it can be used as medicine. After a while, she got more than a dozen centipedes. The centipedes in the mountains are fat and big. Even if it is not the best season, the harvest is quite good. After throwing the centipede into the basket, Gu Yunjiao ran back and called Atai to stop work. Atai is a solid-hearted boy. Gu Yunjiao didn't call him, he just dug with all his might, and he had already dug out a lot. Gu Yunjiao asked Atai to put He Xiaowu into the basket, and the two went down the mountain with the basket on their backs. After returning home, Atai fetched water, and Gu Yunjiao and Atai cleaned the Polygonum multiflorum in the yard. Opposite Yang glanced through the window, and stabbed Zhang Erlang, who was paralyzed on the chair, wondering what he was thinking. "That girl across from you, when are you going to deal with her? Your grandma asked me again yesterday." Zhang Erlang said impatiently, "What's the hurry? Isn't it that I didn't find an opportunity?" He has no interest in Gu Yunjiao at all now. All he thinks about is how to get Gu Mei. Yang Shi hated that iron was not steel and scolded, "I know that I am paralyzed day by day, she is obviously going up the mountain today, what a great opportunity." How could Gu Yunjiao know these people's calculations? After cleaning Xiaowu, put it on the bamboo plaque, and carried it into the kitchen with Atai, and started slicing again. For a few days, Gu Yunjiao and Atai were busy with this pile of Xiaowu, until one day a carriage stopped in front of Jiang's house. Gu Yunjiao was steaming Xiaowu in the kitchen when she heard the voice of shopkeeper Wang from outside. "Shanai Gu, is Dr. Gu at home?" Gu Yunjiao put down her work and went out, and said angrily to shopkeeper Wang, "Why are you still calling addicted?" She didn't say what she said later, because she saw the shopkeeper Wang followed by Qian Kaotu. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jin Kui. Chapter 125. Qian Zhutu was wearing a Yaman's official uniform with a black bottom and red edges, and was looking around. When he turned his head and saw her, he walked over with a smile, and then slapped Gu Yunjiao on the shoulder with a palm-like slap. Halfway through the shoot, Qian Chaotu seemed to find that Gu Yunjiao was a woman, which was inappropriate. Instead, the big palm fell on the shoulders of shopkeeper Wang, making shopkeeper Wang half an inch shorter. "A genius doctor, really a genius doctor. The medicine will cure the disease," Qian Chaotu said with a smile. "Today, I specially came to see Jin, and thank God Dr. Gu. You know, the sore on the back of his neck has caused him to not sleep well for several days. The most painful thing is that his neck can't be turned. When the county magistrate arranged for him to work a few days ago, he also said that he was holding his neck and was rebellious. He was really in pain and couldn't tell." Gu Yunjiao smiled, "I don't dare to be afraid." Qian Zhuotu's voice was gruff, I said a genius doctor is a genius doctor. You are many times stronger than that quack doctor, Dr. Lu. Shopkeeper Wang smiled awkwardly beside him. Zhang Rong and Zhang Hua, who were in the opposite west wing, stood at the door and looked at each other, and they looked at each other from time to time. After Qian Chaotu finished speaking, he took out a tael of silver and stuffed it into Gu Yunjiao's hand. This is the consultation fee. Originally, shopkeeper Wang promised to send the consultation fee to Gu Yunjiao, but Qian Chaotu insisted on making this trip in person. He felt that only by visiting in person could he express his respect for the genius doctor. Gu Yunjiao let the two of them into the room, and looked at the back of Qian Chaotu's neck. The place where the sore had grown before had completely recovered, and there was not even a trace on the skin. Qian Chaotu sat for a while and then left, saying that he still had official business at hand. When Gu Yunjiao sent Qian Zutu out, Zhang Rong and Zhang Hua on the opposite side were eager to try, and they seemed to want to go up and say hello to Qian Zutu, but Qian Zutu only glanced here, and the two were obedient and did not dare to move. With two thick eyebrows and a savage face, Qian Chaotu looked terrifying. Qian Chaotu rode away on horseback, but shopkeeper Wang hadn't left. He drank 2 cups of tea before opening his mouth and said, "Girl, uncle asked you, are you only good at sores, or can you see all medicine?" Gu Yunjiao thought for a while, and said seriously, "Dafang Mei I, ophthalmology, gynecology, and orthopedics are relatively good at orthopedics." When shopkeeper Wang heard it, it meant that most diseases could be treated. He rubbed his hands a few times. "Here, Uncle Wang has an unkind request. Can you invite you to sit in my pharmacy?" He smiled and said, "As long as you are willing to go, in addition to the fixed salary every month, I will give you a commission of 5 points for each prescription. You know, Dr. Lu is only a 3-point commission." Gu Yunjiao smiled at shopkeeper Wang. "Thank you for looking down on me, but I told you last time that I plan to open a pharmacy in Fukan after the year, so I can find my father more easily." Shopkeeper Wang said regretfully, "Girl, you must know that it's not easy to become famous as a doctor. You managed to open up a little situation in your hometown, but you have to start from scratch when you go out of town. It's hard. However, if you want to find your father, that's a no-brainer. It's done. Uncle Wang's words are here. If you want to go to my place, you are welcome at any time." After seeing the shopkeeper Wang away, Gu Yunjiao turned around and saw Zhang Hua looking at her with a smile. "Dalin's daughter-in-law, who is that person wearing the Yaman's official uniform just now?" Gu Yunjiao paused and said with a smile, "Oh, you mean Qian Chaotu." Zhang Hua's eyes lit up. He caught the head. "If only I could get acquainted with this kind of person, wouldn't it be possible to walk sideways throughout the county?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jin Kui. Chapter 126. Zhang Hua gave Gu Yunjiao a thumbs up and flattered with a smile. "Dalin's daughter-in-law is getting more and more capable, and now it's all big people who make friends." Gu Yunjiao is a bit funny. A headhunter is not a big man, right? In her past life, her grandfather and uncle treated big leaders, and it was the real big man who came into contact with them. She smiled at Zhang Hua and turned to go in. This third uncle is a slippery one. He had never scolded Gu Yunjiao in person, and he had never torn apart his face with her, so everyone could still maintain their politeness on the surface. At this time, Mrs. Chen came in from the outside, looking a little dazed. Gu Yunjiao called her. She responded casually and went back to the house. Gu Yunjiao hurried back to the kitchen to see how Xiaowu was steamed. I opened the ceramic jar inside the steamer and took a look. The black bean juice inside had not completely absorbed the light, so I had to continue steaming. She was just about to get up and go out, when she suddenly heard Chen's voice coming from Zhang Yuzi's room next door. "San Lang, there is something, I don't know what to do, you give an idea." Zhang Yuzi's warm voice sounded, "Mother said." Chen Shi hesitated for a while before speaking. "I was chatting with people outside, and Aunt Huang from the Sun family came over here and told me a lot of things. It probably means that the second grandson of her family, Sun Jin, hasn't gotten married yet. My family's Yun Jiao is a good girl." Hearing that, Zhang Yuyi pulled his face down. "What did your mother say?" Chen Shi shook his head. "I didn't say anything, and she was also poking at me, so I pretended not to understand. I just thought about it, the Sun family is a wealthy family, and Aunt Huang is a capable person. The family is very friendly. If Yun Jiao really married his family, it would be a good marriage." As soon as she finished speaking, Zhang Yuzi said, "It may not be a good marriage. His second son, Sun Jin, didn't read, and didn't even recognize the words. He was a peasant. If Yun Jiao married him, wouldn't it be a grievance?" Chen's mouth was half open, and her eldest son was illiterate. Does this mean that marrying the eldest son, Yun Jiao, is also a grievance? She thought about it carefully. Wasn't she wronged, and she was married to Kongzi? Besides, she had the ability herself, so she was really wronged. Chen Shi suddenly realized that Zhang Yuzi didn't call her sister-in-law at all. Thinking back again, she seemed to have never heard him call Mrs. Yun Jiao. She rolled her eyes, looked at Zhang Yuan secretly, and whispered, "If your mother says, it's best for you to marry Yun Jiao. Now this family is all supported by Yun Jiao. If she gets married, the family doesn't know what to do." Zhang Yuzi pursed his lips. "Mother, you are wrong. As the saying goes, when you first marry, you follow your relatives, and when you marry again, it's up to you. Yun Jiao should decide whether or not she will marry and who she will marry. Mother can't force her, let alone tie her to this family for the rest of my life because our family can't live without her." Chen Shi sighed. Mother actually didn't mean all that, and she couldn't bear Yun Jiao, and besides, it's not about the looks of you guys, how good they are. Seeing Zhang Yuzi's face becoming strange, she quickly stopped. "Oh, forget it, I'm talking too much." Gu Yunjiao heard Chen Shi push the door and go out. She sat in the kitchen without moving. At this time, Atai came in from the outside with the firewood on his back, and said to Gu Yunjiao, "Miss, I already know how you told me. I'll just watch the fire, you can rest." It was too late for Gu Yunjiao to stop him. There was Zhang Yuzi's coughing sound from next door. Gu Yunjiao thought unkindly, did Saburo choke on his own saliva? The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jinkui. Chapter 127. Gu Yunjiao smiled at Atai, went out from the kitchen, and when she passed by Zhang Yuzi's room, she deliberately took a look inside. Zhang Yuzi was looking outside, as if waiting for her to pass by. The two looked at each other. Zhang Yuzi looked away in embarrassment. Gu Yunjiao smiled and left in a good mood. Not long after she returned to her room, Mrs. Chen came over. Chen Shi sat at the table for a long time, and finally said, "That, Yun Jiao, mother thought something wrong before. I heard now that the imperial court also encouraged widows to remarry and observe festivals for their deceased husbands, some for a year, and some for 100 days to get married. You, if you want to get married, the promise that you told you before when you became a mother doesn't exist, right?" Gu Yunjiao said with a smile, "Why did you suddenly mention this?" Chen sighed, "Mother has selfishness. Now this family is supported by you. If you really get married, I feel like the sky will fall. However, I'm worried that you will miss out on some good family because of that agreement." She was heartbroken. There are really good people, don't care about anything, just get married, don't think too much. Gu Yunjiao stood up and greeted Chen Shi respectfully, "Thank you, mother, but Yunjiao doesn't have anyone she wants to marry. Even after 3 years, I'm still not 18, it's still early. Hearing this, Mrs. Chen was still willing to keep the 3-year contract, and couldn't help but feel happy. After dinner in the evening, Mrs. Chen took the time to go back to the room to sew cotton padded jackets, while Gu Yunjiao and Sanya were still cleaning up the dishes. Zhang Yuzi, who was on the bed, suddenly said thoughtlessly, "Have you heard it?" Gu Yunjiao was stunned for a moment, only to realize that he was talking to herself. She nodded, "Yeah." Sanya just went to the kitchen with a bunch of bowls. Zhang Yuzi seized the opportunity and said, "That kid Sun Jin really doesn't deserve you. If you want to get married, in the future, I will find a good one for you in the future." Gu Yunjiao smiled, "That's right, that's fine, that Saburo must find me someone who can read." Zhang Yuzi smiled awkwardly. When Sanya came in again, he pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Gu Yunjiao picked up the bowl and chopsticks and went out with Sanya. When I woke up early the next day, the weather changed. Although it had not rained yet, the wind was blowing, as if winter had entered overnight. The family's new cotton padded jacket, Chen's, is almost done, even Zhang Yuzi's is done, and only one of her own has not been done yet. When he got up early, Mrs. Chen had the whole family put on new padded jackets. The padded jacket is divided into 2 layers, the inner layer is the core of the padded jacket, and the outer layer is the smock. When the blouse is dirty, you can take it off and change it for washing. You don't need to wash the core inside. In this way, the bulkiness of the cotton can be maintained to the greatest extent. Atai also changed into a brown padded jacket. The padded jacket made by Chen's is long and covers the buttocks, so that it is warm to wear. At first, Atai refused to wear a new padded jacket to pick up firewood, but Gu Yunjiao told him about it, and also said that he would go to the county town to buy cotton in a few days. Usually when Atai went out to pick up firewood, he wandered around at the foot of the mountain. Usually, he would come back in half an hour at most, but he left today, and he has been gone for a long time and has not come back. Gu Yunjiao had no choice but to call Lu Lang, "You go to the wasteland in the back to see if Atai is there." Rokuro dragged Gu Chuan and ran away together. Not long after, Ruku and Gu Chuan took Atai's hand into the kitchen. Gu Yunjiao saw that Atai was wearing a single shirt, and the new padded jacket on her upper body was gone. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jinkui. Chapter 128. Atai's face was pale and his lips were purple, showing that he was not cold. Gu Yunjiao first pulled Atai to the stove to bake the fire, and then sent Ruku to get his old cotton jacket. Then I found a few pieces of ginger myself and put them in a pot to make ginger soup. After Lu Lang brought the old padded jacket to put on Atai, Gu Yunjiao asked Atai, "Where's the new padded jacket on your body?" Atai lowered his head and said nothing. Gu Yunjiao frowned, "Where's the padded jacket? You have to tell me something. I hate people who keep everything in their hearts and don't say anything." After hearing this, Atai finally raised his head and said with tears in his eyes, "The quilt was ripped off by my stepmother. I was picking firewood on the back of the mountain. When I met my stepmother, I also went to pick up firewood. She said that I was a servant and didn't deserve to wear such fine clothes. The padded jacket should be honored to her. She took the padded jacket and the firewood I picked up." Gu Yunjiao laughed angrily, "Okay, I've been on guard against this for a long time, but I didn't expect this day to come so quickly." At that time, she specially gave Zhao Lijhan a tael of silver and asked him to take Atai's deed of betrayal to the Yamen for the record, just in case Atai had a good life in the future. His father and stepmother would rush to suck blood. In her heart, she never thought Atai was a servant. She always wanted Atai to follow her to be a pharmacy assistant in the future. She planned to go to the Yamen in a few years, after she got rid of Atai's parents completely, and before Atai got married, to eliminate the deed of prostitution. Atai is a good member, and it is easy to change it back. It's just that she never expected that Atai hadn't started working as a man to receive wages. The stepmother's eyelids were so shallow that she would have to take off a new padded jacket. Chen came over just in time to hear what Atai said. Rokuro couldn't find it when he was looking for the padded jacket, but she found it. She asked Rokuro, but Rokuro didn't make it clear. Chenshi's lungs exploded after hearing this, and she rolled up her sleeves. Bah, she dares to snatch the clothes made by my mother one stitch by one thread, and I will tear her apart. Gu Yunjiao grabbed Chenshi, who was about to run away. Mother, wait, when I get the deed of prostitution, let's go together. He, with the sale contract in hand, even if Atai is her private property, she can speak well. One of Zhang Yu next door heard that the old lady was going to fight with someone again, and Yunjiao planned to go together. He was afraid that the two women would suffer, so he was so anxious that he called Lu Lang. Lu Lang, follow your mother and them, pay attention, but don't let them suffer. Rokuro agreed angrily, third brother, don't worry. Gu Yunjiao went back to the room to get the deed of prostitution, explained that Atai was looking at Zhang Tang, and then left with the Chen family. Rokuro walked behind the two at a pace that his 6 relatives did not recognize. He felt that he was ordered to help out, and he was particularly excited. Gu Chuan and Sanya held hands and followed Lu Lang. Sanya whispered, what if my mother and sister-in-law get into a fight with someone in a while, can you help? Gu Chuan nodded vigorously, of course, no one can hit my sister. Sanya glanced at him and shook her head, but you are so young, you can't beat anyone. Gu Chuan said unconvinced, if you can't beat me, bite me. Sanya gave him a disapproving look, bent down to pick up a stone from the ground, and kicked it in her hand. I won't bite, it's too dirty, my sister-in-law said that there are many germs on people's bodies. After walking for a while, Gu Chuan quietly picked up a stone and kicked it in the sleeve of his padded jacket. Chen's journey was hot, and at first glance, it looked like he was going to find someone to tear him apart. When someone bumped into him on the road, he asked, Yo, what is Aunt Chen doing? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jin Kui. Chapter 129. Chen Shi roared angrily, find Atai's stepmother to settle the account. When everyone heard it, there was excitement to watch, and the dull life could add some excitement, so the excitement followed. However, it was cold today, and there were not many people strolling outside. All the way to Atai's house, the Chen family only followed 7 or 8 people behind them. The yard of Atai's house was simply surrounded by a bamboo fence, and the 2 broken wooden doors were even pushed open. Chen Shi aggressively pushed the door open, and people rushed in. The wooden door swayed back and forth a few times in the cold wind, making an unpleasant creaking sound, and Empress Atai stuck her head out of the room. Who is it? Seeing the aggressive Chen Shi, Empress Atai was stunned for a moment, then she reacted and closed the door as soon as her expression changed. Chen Shi ran fast. Seeing that the stepmother of Atai was about to close the door, she rushed over like a cannonball, squeezed into the door, and grabbed the hair of the stepmother Atai. Although Empress Atai was thin and frail, she was not sloppy, and she fought with Chen Shi with her backhand. Gu Yunjiao half opened her mouth. She deliberately took the deed of prostitution, intending to reason with others first. She didn't say a word, so why did she put it on it? Just thinking about it, she saw that Mrs. Chen had brought down the stepmother of Atai and rode on her. The stepmother of Atai was pressed down by her, and suddenly she shouted sharply, Dagon, Dagon, come quickly, someone beat your mother-in-law. It was too late and too fast, when I saw a figure suddenly rushing out from the back of the house, bypassing Gu Yunjiao and running into the house. Gu Yunjiao looked at it. This is not good. No matter how sturdy and capable Chen is, she is also a woman. Atai's stepmother is not easy to deal with, plus Lu Dagan is a big man. Isn't this bullying? She shouted, "Stop fighting," while rolling up her sleeves and rushing into the house. Lu Lang first saw that the Chen family had the upper hand and then did not move. Now that Lu Dagan entered, they knew something was wrong, and rushed in with Gu Yunjiao. Lu Lang ran ahead, but when he entered the door, he tripped over the legs of the stepmother Atai on the ground, and fell a dog and ate shit. Gu Chuan confiscated his feet and fell on Rokuro. Sanya and Gu Chuan entered holding hands, and were also brought down to the ground by Gu Chuan. The stone they kicked in their hands rolled out all the way. The scene was extremely chaotic. Gu Yunjiao originally came in to help, but when she rushed into the house, she couldn't move. Because Lu Dagan had already pulled the Chen family away, he didn't do anything further. Chen Shi stood on the ground with his hips on his back, gasping for breath. Stepmother Atai was struggling to get up from the ground. It's just that Rukuro and Xiao Chuan were pressed on her body, so she couldn't get up. Gu Yunjiao hurried to pull Li Alang and Xiao Chuan. While pulling her, he didn't forget to shout, "Don't rush to do it, don't do it, let's talk about it first." At this time, those who watched the lively, not afraid of the big thing, all crowded to the door. Chen Shi breathed evenly, and suddenly the chatter box opened. Everyone is commenting, "I have never seen such a shameless thing. She also wants to grab a padded jacket made for the child. I'm too embarrassed to wear it on myself if I rob it." She walked to the door, pulled an ant and cried, "Our boy Atai went out to pick up firewood in the new cotton jacket I made for him this morning. Who knows, he won't come back once he goes." Lu Lang went out to look for it, only to find that the padded jacket on his body was ripped off. He was wearing a single shirt, hiding in the leeward place and trembling, and he did not dare to go home, for fear that the padded jacket would not be easy to explain. Tell me, isn't this child pitiful? The Prime Minister seduced me to give birth. Author, Jin Kui. Chapter 130. The ant nodded vigorously, and spit at the stepmother of Atai. "Bah, cruel stepmother." At this moment, Gu Yunjiao pulled Li Alang and Xiao Chuan up, and Atai's stepmother also got up from the ground. She spat back unceremoniously, "I'm Atai's mother, what's wrong with taking his clothes? His parents are still wearing them. What about the ragged coat? Why does he wear such a thick new cotton coat? Is there any more filial piety? Chen Shihihi, whose mother are you acting as your mother? Did you give birth to Atai? Or did you raise Atai for a day? You kicked Atai out as soon as you entered the door. Do you still have the face to honor Atai?" Gu Yunjiao frowned when she heard this. Chen's words seem to be right, but they are not. The key is that Atai is now her servant, and according to the law, it is her private property. Everything about Atai is also her private property. This is not a matter of filial piety, but from a legal point of view, it is something that robs her of Gu Yunjiao. Gu Yunjiao hurriedly said to Empress Atai, "Take off the padded jacket and return it to me, otherwise, we will go to Zhao Lichun's house to talk." She could see that she wanted to reason with these people, but she was just delusional, so let Zhao Lichun have a headache. Stepmother Atai sneered, "This jacket is mine if I wear it, do you want it?" "No way. What's wrong with Zhao Lichun? Do you think I dare not go? I don't believe that Lichun can make Atai not honor his parents." Everyone at the door was booing, "Let's go, let Zhao Lichun judge the rationale." A group of people arrived at Zhao Lichun's house in a mighty way. When they passed by Jiang's house, Zhang Rong, Jiang Hua and Yang Lu saw it, and they also flocked to the next door to watch the fun. Zhao Li is often dealing with disputes between neighbors, so he didn't panic when he saw so many people. He just greeted a few sons and daughters-in-law, and moved stools for everyone to sit on. After everyone was settled, Zhao Lijian asked, "What happened?" Just as Gu Yunjiao was about to speak, Atai's stepmother complained first, "Uncle Lijian, you judge the truth." She first pulled Lu Dagan and pointed to the ragged padded jacket on him and said, "Look at what Dagan is wearing." Then he tugged at the clothes on his body, "This padded jacket is thick, well, but it is not mine. My own padded jacket is even more torn than the one on Dagan. It's the filial boy Atai." Seeing that I was wearing ragged clothes, he took off his padded jacket and put it on for me. She pointed at Mrs. Chen and said, "But this wicked woman insisted that I stole her things, and ran to our house to make a fuss, to take off the padded jacket." Zhao Lijian's eyebrows twitched when he heard it, and Gu Yunjiao said the matter softly again. After Gu Yunjiao finished speaking, Zhao Lijian fully understood, and said to Lu Dagan, "Stop making a fool of yourself, and quickly ask your daughter-in-law to return the padded jacket to others." Lu Dagan lowered his head and said nothing. Atai's stepmother said unconvinced, "Uncle Lijian, you can't be partial to her. Why should you give her this padded jacket? Isn't Atai filial to his parents?" At this time, Gu Yunjiao slowly took out the betrayal contract from her arms. "No way. Atai is my servant. From the day I bought him, he and everything on him are my property. You took off the cotton padded coat on his body without my consent, which is to rob my property. Logically, I can go to the Yamen to sue you." After Gu Yunjiao finished speaking, everyone started chatting. They didn't even know there was such a thing. Mainly because there is no one at home.